Hi, my name is Khleif, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Khleif, and I'm thrilled you're here. And I know you're going to get value from the super nice guy that I'm interviewing today. His name is Jeff Davis with Bridgestone Capital. And Jeff has literally kind of an overnight success here, scaled from 0 to 1,200 units in a year. So I'm really excited to dig into that and have some other conversations with him. Welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I guess an overnight success, years in the making.
That's usually how it works. You know, it's like a duck floating on the top of the water. Nobody can see the legs frantically paddling underneath the water. But yeah, so why don't you welcome to the show, buddy. And why don't you take a minute and just give us a little background on who you are? It's kind of interesting, when I read your bio. So I don't want to steal your thunder. Why don't you give it in your words?
Sure enough. I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. Got married in June of 2005, and then Hurricane Katrina hit in August of 2005. So we packed up everything we owned in the trunk of a Toyota Camry and moved over to Houston. And I just started knocking on doors to find a job. And that's how I landed. A logistics company hired me to just enter in data into a computer every single day, 8 hours a day. And that's how I entered a career in logistics. I like solving problems, and that put me into a career of deal making and into sales in global supply chain and logistics.
Which is a buzzword right now. So we're going to drill down on it a little bit, and I want you to share some of your expertise because, you were all hearing about supply chain issues and videos or pictures of boats being stopped and locked on offshore and diesel shortages, which is really relevant today, actually, is they're talking about a big diesel shortage and just all kinds of crap going on. So yeah, would love to dig into that. But before we do, talk about your real estate journey a little more, if you would, please.
Absolutely. We saved up for years, put 20% down on a house in 2007, right after my first son was born. And then the market just completely shifted, and we watched all that equity go away, right? I felt like we followed all the steps. And I watched all these investors just come in and buy my neighbors' houses for cash and buy down the street in a whole neighborhood. And at that point, I told myself, I'm not going to sell right now, but I'm going to figure out what I need to do differently to be in a better position so that I can do what these investors are doing.
Sure.
So I saved up my commissions and I began investing in rental properties to kind of bring some stability to my income for my kids and my wife and my family, because everything's up and down. It's always very volatile, in business, the economy, leaving it up to financial markets to determine success or failure. So I wanted to be
employers, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I tell the story about my dad worked for Continental Airlines for 36 years and got laid off.
Right.
So it's a little crazy. And I mean, we're recording this on November 2nd, 2022. And the world's in a crazy place. We've got midterms coming up in a few days. Without going down a rabbit hole, I pray to God that people vote like crazy and we get this country back on track. So you did some houses. Please continue from there. Then you obviously shifted. What talk about that shift and how that came about.
Well, I just enjoyed the single family thing. I was a landlord, started doing flips. I tried wholesaling. I did not mind it. I liked providing a clean, safe place for people to live. Definitely enjoyed that extra income. And as I got a CPA, I enjoyed the tax benefits, right, of depreciation.
Sure.
And I progressed in my career as well. Then the flips became more numerous, and it really just got very busy with my family life, And every time I was starting at ground zero, every single time, right? You make a big old check, but then you got to find another house and deal with the subcontractors and the contractors, and you're paying everybody every Friday. And I called one of my buddies, and he was a lender on a property with me, and he was doing apartments. And I said, I know you're not working as hard as I am. And that's why we talked about the scalability of commercial versus single family. Sure. And a light bulb went off. And so I just exited out of all my single families last year.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, you're smarter than I am, because it took me 2,000 houses to get that memo. It's a natural progression from people to go from single family to multifamily. Because like you said, you're only as good as your last check. And every January 1st, you go back to work. You get enough multifamily under your belt. Not only are you scaling faster, you realize it's a team sport, and you can raise money for it very easily. Maybe a little harder now than it's been in the past, but still, we just did a $19 million raise, 19 and a half on a
wow.
Asset in Nashville.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Just finished that a couple of days ago, actually. You get that scalability. I mean, it's as much work to buy a house or a duplex or a fourplex as it is to buy a 10 unit, 20 unit, 40 unit. And so, and sometimes it's easier actually to buy a larger asset because it's a team sport, and they're looking at the property's ability to service the debt rather than your own. So you really move quickly. You 1,200 units in 1 year. What do you attribute that? I know you joined a mentorship program. One of my competitors, we talked about that, which is fantastic. You believe in mentorship, obviously. My students are now upwards of 100,000 units that we know of, and I've only been teaching 5 years. Super proud of that. And and I know you're doing business with some of my warriors as well. We talked about that before we got recording here, but speak to that for a minute. Speak to mentorship and creating a team. Speak to that a little bit. They always hear it from me. I want them to hear it from other people.
Absolutely. I think it's critical in this space. Single family, you can do as much as you can do. And there is an aspect of limiting belief, right? Because it's very easy. You've got your lender guy, you got your bank, you got your contract. You can go into a house and you can underwrite it in about 45 seconds.
Right.
You but you're limited to that. That's your goal. But when you get into these communities, right? Your community, your warrior guys, they inspire me when I meet with them here. And the same guys with my community. They've got 100,000 units. And the reason is because their belief system is much higher and their goals are much higher. And you're just hanging around people who have already done what you want to do. And they're just going to tell you the steps that you need to take and, guide you along the right path. And it's really fun. And you just do what you're naturally good at. You get your team members that are, for me, really good at underwriting, really good at asset management, and I'm good at deal making. So calling brokers and trying to get those off market deals. And that's how I've kind of found.
So that's the value you brought to your team is to go out there and find the deals by those relationships and put those deals together. Yeah. No, I love it. Love it. Yeah. And there's a reason my warriors are motivated is because I spend so much time on that. I mean, anybody that listens to me knows it's about mindset and psychology. So it's really nice to hear that from someone else. It's outside of my ecosystem as it were. But so let's shift over to global supply chain. Okay. Because you get, I get sucked in sometimes to some of the conspiracy crap that's going on, food plants being put on fire and planes crashing into them, and this whole diesel thing, and there's some merit to the gas thing. I know that the current administration has been selling our reserves or utilizing our reserves to China. I mean, what's up with that? But again, we won't go down that rabbit hole, but unless you can add,
we can go offline.
we definitely. But talk about what's happening and what you're seeing first, and then let's talk about the impact, or all in one conversation. Let's talk about the impact it's having on our business, on our ability to, do a reposition and buy all the materials that we need that very often come from China. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I will start with that and its effect on interest rates and supplies. I'll end with the diesel thing because I got some updates for you on that.
Okay.
But, China to Houston, container freight rate for my entire career has been around $3,000, give or take a few $100s.
Okay.
2020 to into this year, it's skyrocketed to $30,000.
Holy cow. 10 times increase?
10x. That's right.
By the way, you're breaking up just a hair. You're breaking up just a hair. I'm not sure why, but in fact, let's repeat that again. Let's repeat as if I just asked you the question. You just talk about the container start to finish again. Could become a movement. I'm not sure, but go ahead and just answer that again.
I get very excited.
Yeah. Well, I think it dislodged something. So start with, to give you an example. Okay.
So for example, China container rates from Shanghai to Houston for my entire career, 17 years, have been historically $3,000
per container. One of those boxes you see on the ship. Got it. Okay.
Correct. From 2020 to into this year till May of this year, it has gone as high as $30,000.
Holy cow. That's a 10 times increase.
10x. Right.
Holy cow. I mean, that has got to impact the cost of everything coming over here.
Yeah. So put yourself in the shoes of
Well, hold on. Before we move forward, before we move past that, why? The operative question is why? What has changed in the last 2 years? Is the price of fuel for the ships? Why do you think? Love your opinion on that. If you have an opinion on it.
Well, I can tell you what happened is COVID lockdown meant that the U.S. consumer had nowhere else to spend their money except on consumer goods. We could not travel. We could not international or domestic travel. No more concerts. No more outdoor or indoor sports arenas. No more shopping outside. So the only place that you and I could spend our money was here
on your phone,
Lowe's and Home Depot. Right. Online retailing was something different this time around than in the 2008 recession. Right. And so that drove the demand for China manufactured goods sky high. The capacity on the ocean freight and air freight market for cargo traffic does not change. That's an almost fixated market in terms of capacity. And so the prices skyrocketed.
Wow.
Almost overnight.
That's crazy. I mean, talk about the definition of price gouging. Holy cow. So that's a big component of inflation then. I mean, I've been yelling off from the rooftops, it's these morons printing money like crazy that's causing inflation, but sounds like this is a pretty big component as well.
Well, I think one led to the other, right? Because where did a lot of the money, you talk about $4 trillion printed in the past 2 years, 10 trillion globally. Right. Where did they get that money? Right. And so, backing up a little bit, if you're an importer, right? If you're a distributor who is used to spending $1 million, right? They budget $1 million in transportation of their goods as a part of their cost goods sold. And now it is $10 million. And the challenge was that for a year, these prices, these costs were not reflected in consumer prices.
No kidding.
That is until Q2 of this year. And that's when the discussion changed from supply chain problems to inflation is 6%. Inflation is 7%. Inflation is 8% and now 9.1%, right? Yeah. And to your point, it is a huge factor in this, right? Increased labor costs overseas, raw material good costs are higher, and obviously shipping costs.
Wow. Crazy. I mean, do you have any hypothesis, which is all it is at this point for anybody, crystal ball stuff, but what are your thoughts on the future with all of this?
Yeah. So once these costs got passed through the distribution channels, right? Because you talked about it going through Long Beach, it comes through Houston. These are port cities. It's got to work itself through the distribution networks before it gets on the shelf or online and into everybody's pockets. It took about a year, 9 to 12 months before those costs were accurately reflected. And once that was June. And so from May to June, it was a 50% decline in US demand.
Wow.
From June to today, we're almost at pre-pandemic pricing.
Oh, we are. Okay.
We are. It's about an 80% drop from the all-time high of shipping prices.
I see. So it's back to normal then. Okay.
We're getting there.
Okay.
So my projection, my crystal ball says that this inflationary effect should be gone by March, April of next year.
Got it.
We're going to not have these inflation discussions so much, right? Maybe not all the way gone, but it's got to work itself through the distribution networks.
Yeah, well, and that's not the only cause of that inflationary environment. I mean, again, when you flood the market with money, people can make money for not even working. For example, don't get me started, or the student loan vote buying scam that just happened. Good Lord! But okay, very very interesting. Yeah, I
just got what you said.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it is. Any attempt to call it anything else. But anyway, well, let's shift gears again. So we talked about team. We talked about the role you play. We talked about your ascension in this business, and we talked about the power of mentorship and team. And why you converted from single to multi. Let's talk about balance in life. One of the things that I'm a huge proponent on with my students is that work-life balance. In fact, I literally talk about it in about the first 5 minutes whenever I do a boot camp, because one of my greatest regrets in life was coming home to my $8 million mansion on the beach that I built to prove the world I was good enough, and playing with my kids and playing with them every night, but not being there mentally, being completely distracted and so focused on success that I didn't have balance in my life. So my greatest regret in this life, to this day in my life, I mean, they'll say I was a great dad, but I didn't live up to my own expectations. So I know you've got 5 kids. So let's talk about work-life balance for a minute, because, we know that you have to make sacrifices to achieve the level of success that you've done in such a short time. And I'm sure the world is your oyster. You're going to go a lot further. And so how do you manage that so that you don't have any of the regret that I was just talking about?
Well, I hope that I'm doing it.
Okay.
My key is I'm there at night. Dinner at home with the family is a big deal for us. I do have a couple of networking events that I go to, and I've committed. It's 3 every single month. Okay. But for the most part, it's dinner every night. And it's been that way for their entire lives.
And there's no phone at the table?
No.
Okay.
We're talking, we're arguing, we're laughing, we're making jokes, and that's a big thing. I typically make breakfast in the morning. I'm coaching my 8-year-old's flag football team, which is not going swimmingly well, quite frankly. But it's fun because they're 8-year-olds,
right?
And so I do try to be there, right? I was actually earlier on in my logistics career doing a bit more international travel, right? I was going to China, Africa, and Asia. And I guess it's good that I did it when they were younger, and being gone a little bit didn't have so much of an effect. But now that I have teenagers and preteens, I can tell they need me there more. It's important that I'm there.
And not just there, but present. That's the key distinctive. Yeah. Mentally present. And that's, I was there physically, but I wasn't there mentally. And that's again, I missed so much because I was distracted. So no, that's good. Do you block out time for them at all? Do you do individual things with each of them? Get a go just a hair deeper.
Yeah. I don't necessarily block out time, but I do try to, not even try, but if they come into the office, I divert the attention, but they've known that, hey, dad's working. They try not to interrupt. But once I shut it down, so basically from 5 to 6:30, that is, I'm at home and I turn off the phone, to your point, right? Because no phones.
Right.
And so when I'm at home, and I don't check any social media. I don't check text messages. I don't answer the calls. So
just for that hour and a half, then.
Well, that's like a fixed time.
Okay.
Like, I shut it down, and then even after, depending on the evening, if I have a project I need to work on, sometimes I'll go do that after dinner or something. But definitely the weekends, I'm pretty well absorbed. We have a baby, and he's high maintenance, so my wife is definitely handing off the baby to me on the weekends.
Okay. Okay. So you're there then. Okay. All right. Well, that's great. Well, I can't stress that enough. Like I said, I talk about, in my boot camp, getting a divorce and having to tell my kids we were getting a divorce, and just all that regret and angst and everything. And this business is not just making money. It's keeping that balance and we live life to be happy. And that's such a critical piece of it. So, let me ask you this. A lot of my listeners are aspiring multifamily investors. They know they want to do this business. Maybe they haven't pulled the trigger yet, analysis by paralysis or whatever. What might you say to somebody that's on the sidelines that, knows they need to do something for their family and just hasn't pulled the trigger?
I'd say that you will surprise yourself at what you can accomplish. It is legitimately surprising. Just a few years ago, I was just living in a house. I'm honestly just a poor boy from New Orleans. Mm-hmm. Like my sister texts me and she says, like, this is unreal, the stuff that you do. I'm like, well, come along, right? So promise you, I'm nothing special.
Yeah.
And if it's just a little bit of effort and it compounds, right? It's the compound effect, a little bit of effort every single day, but you're doing something different than what you're doing now. So that's my advice.
I think recognizing that, everybody starts out where you and I have started out. Nobody starts out a professional in this business. And I know it can seem daunting and intimidating, but the whole adage, how to eat a whale, right? One bite at a time. And so this is a question I like to ask. You've probably heard it before, but if you went back and asked, and with what you know now, told 18-year-old Jeff something about business and life, what advice might you give your 18-year-old self?
Yeah, open your ears. Especially my 18-year-old self, I was probably a little over arrogant, and open your ears and look to learn, and don't try and do so much yourself, because the bigger deals are done as a team, and you need those mentors to teach you the right path and how to avoid small and medium and big mistakes.
Yeah. Well, listen, are there any favorite books that you gift to other people, just about life or business or real estate, whatever? We've all heard the Rich Dad Poor Dad series, but anything else pop to mind?
Yeah, just now the one I mentioned, right? The Compound Effect.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a good one, and The One Thing is a good one.
Yeah, Gary Keller. I had Jay Pappas on as co-author on my show. That is a fantastic book. Yeah.
That was good for me because I try to do so many things, right? And it's really helped with my work-life balance. Like this is my work time. And when I'm with the kids, I'm with the kids and with my wife. And she was a big part of that too. Like, you need to check in. You're checked out. So she holds me accountable and makes sure that I'm level set. But The One Thing is good, right? Like, when you're underwriting a deal, underwrite the deal.
Yeah.
Don't try and multitask. There's no successful multitaskers.
That's one of the basic premises in the book, and that is such a good one. It's all about focusing on that one thing that's important at that time. Well, listen, my friend, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know we had some technical difficulties there, but we got through it. And say hi to the Warriors, John and Michael, and the other Warriors you work with for me. And it's a pleasure to meet you. And I'm sure we'll shake hands one day at one of these industry events.
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Take care.
Rod, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. Now, I know you've been hard at work helping our Warrior students do just that using our ACT methodology, which is awareness, close, and transform. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our Warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year, we did over 1,000 units with our students. And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our Warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345, and we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345.